Let me start off this video by saying every two-handed axe in Chivalry 2 is good, like really good, but only one can lay claim to the title of best axe in the game. Straight to the champ here, and there is a bit of an ongoing joke in the comment section how I flip-flopped on what the best axe is just multiple times throughout the game's life cycle. I straight up have a few gameplays with this is the best axe in Chivalry 2, and I'm using a different axe in each one. But look, they're all goddamn good, and sometimes throughout the game's life cycle, things change. You value certain weapons attributes more after 3 years of playing than you did when the game released. Sometimes the traits that make a weapon the best for just stomping out shitters in team objective don't translate as well to playing against more skilled players. So this list, it's based on 1, my personal opinion and playstyle after 3 years of playing, 2, team objective mode, and 3, team objective mode playing against good players. So whether it be in tournament ground events or clan battles or even the server browser matches, which have much sweatier lobbies, I think for a weapon to be the good or the best, it should work on people who are actually good. Alright, let's start down at number 4, and this weapon, it's criminally underused in the game, and that is the Battle Axe. This thing, it's like a mini mole. It just absolutely destroys people, and if they want to block, not a problem, because this thing sends weapons flying out of your opponent's hands really fast with that stamina damage. Well, not a dueling list. This is actually a really great dueling weapon. It's really hard to fight, because if you miss a counter or two, you're disarmed when you're facing an opponent who has one. The Battle Axe, it has decent speed, but it can also drag really nice and be slowed down. Where the Battle Axe lacks is in weapon reach. It's short, like Herringstone's. What this means is you have to go all in on those melees face to face. While not necessarily a bad thing and is a hell of a lot of fun, it leaves you often no way of backing out and resetting a fight. This also makes it harder to drag the axe through multiple enemies to really abuse that chop damage, and let's face it, axes, they're supposed to be 1vx weapons in this game. Now, Vanguard foot speed can mitigate some of this, but you gotta expect whenever you're on Vanguard that you're gonna be a prime target for those pesky archers. Ultimately, the Battle Axe, it's amazing, but all the other axes are so damn good, there's a reason it gets less play than the rest. Now, in the 3 spot, we have probably the most cried about weapon in this game's existence, and that is the Danx. What the Danx has is insane speed for a two-handed weapon, it does solid damage, and you can toss it for absolutely nutty numbers. The Danx is one of the easiest weapons to just pick up and do great with in a public lobby. Swing, dodge, gamble, dodge, chuck. Memorize that combo, and you're now a Danx pub stomper. And while the Danx is great, and it can be abused, the Danx, it does fall short, in my opinion, in a few areas. Like the Battle Axe, it lacks in reach, but I think the real shortcoming on the Danx is that it has some of the easier animations to read in the game. While I appreciate non-janky animations, this makes it harder to use on experienced players who are not going to get dodge gambled repeatedly. I think when you're talking higher end lobbies, its greatest actual attribute is just the ability to nope the fuck out and chuck it and still do crazy damage. And I know I'll get a flack for this opinion, but I rarely see people choose the Danes in the comp lobbies or events, showing that the other players seem to share this opinion that it's more of a shitter stomper weapon and it's not as good against people who are real experienced in the game. Now, in the 2 spot, we have a weapon I see run very often in competitive events. It's kind of like got a niche following to it. It's the Warax. And the Warax, it has a lot of the same traits as the Battle Axe. It hits hard, it has decent speed, and it has really nice swing manipulation. Add on that chop damage, and of course, it's excellent when hitting multiple opponents. Now, where the Warax separates from the other axes for me is it has a bit more reach at the cost of just slightly less damage than the Battle Axe. And I'll take this trade-off as I'd rather actually hit a bunch of enemies with my Warax than have slightly higher damage numbers when I'm swinging at air in some crazy group fights at some spear biatches with the Battle Axe. Again, like the Battle Axe, swing manipulation here is really good. You could do some really nice drags with the Warax. It's one of those weapons that dominates both pubs and sweat lobbies, just overall an amazing weapon. Now, in the top spot, we have the last axe left standing, and one I've low-key been using in a lot of events lately, and that is the Executioner Axe. Now, at release, this thing was the overpowered shitter stomper, but after some damage nerfs, it fell slightly out of favor with the general player base. But now, why do I rank it as the best axe even post-nerf? Well, 2 real reasons. First off, weapon reach. The longer I play this game, the more I value reach on a weapon. Reach lets you fight from relative safety, disengage from bad fights, and more importantly, stay slightly out of range of enemies' riposte encounters in group fights. Secondly, it's swing manipulation. The Executioner Axe is one of the most draggable weapons in the game. It stays in the air for a day and a half, and on top of that, it's one of the most janky weapons in the game, which can be hard to deal with 1 versus 1, but it's really hard to deal with when your opponent is trying to read 3 of your teammates' attacks at the same time. I love using those long overheads all the time to just kind of wait out my enemy's active parry in group fights from the safety of that long range. Just kind of chill with the axe up in the air, waiting out that active parry, and then you drop it. This lets me get a lot of kills I would have not gotten if I was using a faster weapon like a Danx or a one-handed sword. Now, to top it off, the Executioner Axe does some pretty decent damage. And think of it like in Overwatch. You're throwing out DPS numbers, but with the Executioner Axe, you're not only hitting one enemy. The reach of this weapon allows you to just unleash it from one side of a bridge fight to another with reckless abandon. And if you add up the numbers of all those people hit, it's a pretty much a fuck ton of damage, which is why my final pick for the top axe in Chivalry 2 is the Executioner Axe. Now, let me know down below if you agree or disagree with my list. Of course, it's fine to disagree with me. Just know that you're wrong. Champ out.